Okay, here is the challenge floor 13 clear. This one is really strange for the most part. You can use a dual attack composition if you want here. I tried doing this with Sinful Angelica, Kitty Clarissa, Adventurer Roz, and Shuri on Bloodstone. That did work for me, although it was a really long solution that took a huge amount of time. And I'll explain why that is in a second. So I decided to go with this one instead, which uses Commander Lorena to kind of punch through Mucacha a bit faster. So how this fight works is you have to play no 5 stars, and also Mucacha lowers your max health every time he attacks you. Whenever you use any action whatsoever, whether that's a basic skill, an S2, an S3, whatever, if your character is at 70% or less of their maximum health, Mucacha will counter you and stun you and give you a bunch of other nasty debuffs. If he does that 3 times, you get enraged. That would be fairly easy to just tank up and Soul Weaver and sustain it out. The big problem is actually Jecht here in the back. He will summon a Wild Angara, which is largely irrelevant. The biggest problem is that when anyone goes under 50% health on his team, he will use a one-time AoE attack that removes all buffs and does a fair chunk of damage. It also does an additional bit of damage based on Jecht's remaining maximum health. I believe it's 35% of his maximum health. So you'll see as I drop Mucacha here under 50% with Lorena, that he immediately will hit me with this AoE attack, and I will take an absolutely massive amount of damage here. Now, luckily, I have Shuri on Bloodstone to help mitigate this. And, my characters in general are fairly tanky in this run. So I was able to just kind of sustain through a couple of these Mucacha hits. You see right there, he went for one. Because my Raz, when he activated his S3, had less than 70% health. It is possible to sustain through it with a composition like this one, where I have a tank, a Bloodstone character, and then a very, very tanky Soul Weaver. That's the strategy I chose to go with for the video. If for some reason you cannot out tank that Jecht S3, I encourage you to use a composition that is a Terran Guard dual attack style composition, not with Terran Guard, but with like a character like Shuri or even Commander Lorena, and just kind of hit the Jecht and get him as low as possible, so that way when he goes under 50% health, the AoE is only once per battle. It is drastically reduced and you don't take that much damage, and therefore you won't potentially enrage Mucacha because you don't have to worry about that massive AoE. Yes, you'll get the strip. You'll still get hit by it when Jecht goes under 50%, but it won't do a ton of damage. It won't knock your characters below 70% health, and therefore you don't have to worry about the enrage mechanic. Otherwise, this fight is fairly standard, as you see in a lot of my other Abyss videos. You just Soulburn Roz when it's available. You use Shuri for the combat readiness and the Bloodstone. Kizuna AI is for sustaining, and then Commander Lorena is the damage. You can honestly use any 3-star or 4-star damage dealer here. Bloodblade Corinne, for example. Looking at my stats, it's my PvP Adventurer Roz. You've probably already seen it from various other videos. Commander Lorena is exactly the same as the previous Abyss video. No changes. You can definitely build a better one than mine. Mine's not even that good. My Shuri is on a lot of damage. That doesn't really matter, though. The only thing that matters actually is Bloodstone. Going fast with Bloodstone, I think, is more important than having damage on this character. And then Kizuna AI is, again, just a safe Soul Weaver with a bunch of buffs, cleanses, heals, etc.